Hey, let me know when you're ready.
All right. So another thing that's very, very important, especially for consultants, and the inspiration for this goes back to Gary Blank as well, but it's very important, to have a good firm handshake. It's important, more important than being competent to return a phone call within an hour, right? They call you up, oh, it's not working, something, you can't, maybe they have no idea what's going on. It doesn't matter. If you need to call them back and listen, and it's more important that you be in contact. And so, don't let, you'll be a temptation to, oh, that drives me nuts, I'll just get back to that tomorrow. No, call them right now. Call them right now, even if you can't tell them anything. They will be glad you called. um, Remember that people work with those that they know and trust. There's a certain human touch and there's a human nature to this. So you have to engage with people if you're going to be a consultant. You have to. It's part of the sales process. It's part of what people naturally do. So if they like you, they feel like you support them, they'll stay engaged with you. Remember that it's give and take. Well, if you give first, you're likely to get your needs met as well. So give first, and you'll find that the reciprocity will take care of the rest, right? Remember the 3-call rule. I don't know something. Well, who do I know that might know something? Make a phone call, right? Send an email, right? They don't know, but they know that they think that Bob that they know might know. So you call Bob. Hey, Bob, Joe sent me over, and he said you might know something about this. I'm trying to figure it out. Oh, well, I don't know, but I know a lot about this. But my friend John has just got this down. And so in 3 phone calls, you usually you'll find exactly who you need, who can advise you on a particular issue you might be running into. So use this because it amplifies your abilities. Acknowledge your sources. If you've gotten information or capability, thank those people. Oh, I didn't know how to solve this initially, but I called this guy John that I had some connections to, and John so and so, he knew this cold, and here's what he said, and here's what we got from this, right? And then thank your connections. Oh, John was spectacular. Thanks for passing me along to Dave. Thanks. All very important. Thank your contacts, and keep your promises. Try not to make promises that don't come true. These things will go a long way in helping you maintain and grow your corral of clients. Next slide. Okay, that is all spectacular, but that seems like how am I going to do all this? It seems very complex. So let me suggest some tools and techniques and ideas for how you can do this. I hope this is where you might want to take some notes, but of course, if you get presentation, you can do that. So first of all, in good times and bad times, it's important to spend some time working on the business, right? So one area I want to bring your attention to is something called KPIs, key process indicators. And many of it, you've probably had projects where you had to think about this and you've worked on these things as part of a project or part of someone else's business. Well, now you need to think about this in terms of your business processes. The results of sales and marketing, administrative and business systemization, right? To help automate your business and improve your efficiency in getting through that little cycle we talked about earlier. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples that I want you to sort of soak in. Yours may be a little different, but you're going to have a whole bunch of these, and you may have a few others. So next slide. Okay, so here are some examples of some KPIs that you could keep track of. Right, the number of leads per month you have. This could be, this could be public contracts, or this could be proposals you make, or people who you can call back, whatever it might be. How many are you getting per month? Right? Just the number. Conversion rate. How many of the leads that you send proposals to you convert into a sale of some size, right? What is your average sale, right? Is it $2,000, $10,000? What is it? How often does it happen? What is the rate on those? The average rate of pay? What is the average length of the project you're engaging? Right? All of this is very important to your top line. How many sales per month? How many dollars per sale? How many dollars per month in total sales? Percentage of projects that remain on budget or under budget or over budget. The number of projects on time, under schedule or over schedule. Right? How are you doing in terms of your planning and your accomplishment? Right? And this is one that a lot of us don't think about very much. Return on ad spend. So, for instance, we talked about earlier about marketing, like in Facebook or LinkedIn or Google Ads or other things like that. There's a whole bunch of different ways and all different ways that you can use to advertise your services. And many of them cost money. You got to spend a little bit of money to get some eyeballs, to buy some eyeballs to get in front of. Right? Well, what kind of return, if you spend $500 in a month on ads, it's certainly possible, whether could be MailChimp emails, or it could be YouTube, or it could be, or Google, or it could be whatever it might be. What kind of sales can you attribute specifically to those ads? Right? You can trace it all the way through, and you want to see what that return on ad spend is. And to give you an example, like at our game store, we use Facebook a lot because we've built a clientele around the game store, right? And so when we send something out, we're getting an organic following of 3,000 to 5,000 people, and then we may get it out to another 10,000 or 15,000 people or something like that. And it's not very expensive to do, but we get a lot of traction. So it turns out that we have a return on ad spend of about 5 to 7. Right? So if I spend $100 on ads, I probably get $600 or $700 in spend on our website, for instance. And it's a little harder to tell who comes into the store. So I separate the ads in this case by distance. So if they're beyond 50 miles, I'm going to attribute them to the web store. So let me just give you an idea. Return on investment, right? If you invest in a new skill, or you invest in some other kind of marketing process, or you are, maybe you've decided to do art flash studies, and so you have to spend $10,000 on a set of tools and CAD tools to do that. And maybe you need a way to find those who are putting out contract offerings, RFQs, and things like that. And so there's some ways to do that in that industry. So, what is your return? So you spend $10,000 on tools a year. How many art flash studies did you get? What's that look like? Net operating income per month. So after you've paid all your expenses, what's left over per month, per year, per project, right? Number of repeat customers. How long do they stay? It's pretty typical in our industry that 80% of your customers are return customers, and 10 or 20% are new. So every time you lose one, you got to go replace one, or maybe every time, so hopefully you've got a little corral. So how many return and repeat, and how many stay? This is an important metric to know. How long do they last? What is a single customer worth to you? Do they stay for 3 or 4 years? What is their total spend with you? That's another very important. And how many new customers are you getting per period, per year, or whatever it might be. Next slide. So let me explain how this works and why you care about this. Right? That was a lot of minutia, okay? But these things are not additive. They're sort of multiplicative. So if I can explain here, let's say you improve this is just a little example, but it shows you how this works. Let's say you improve your number of leads per month from just 8 to 10. So you worked a little bit harder and you got a couple more leads. And you increase your conversion from 20 to 25%. You made worked a little bit harder to make those better proposals, and you made sure that people coming in were a little higher quality, and so better than a little bit, so you had a better conversion rate. And then let's say your average sale went up by just a little bit, 10%, just a little bit added, maybe an upsell or something, a little ad that you put into your deal. So you went from 10K to 11K on your ad lines, right? Previously, your revenue was 8 leads times 20% conversion times 10K, or 16,000, right? But now you're 10 leads at 25% and 11,000, 27.5. Look at that. It's not quite double. How many of you'd like that, right? So my point is that when you get some attention onto all the, go back to the last page one more time. Look at this again. So almost any of these, if you just did a little bit of focus on what would allow me to improve this just a little bit. Improve each of these things. If you're tracking them and you're from month to month, from year to year, you can keep track of how are you doing on each of these. You can see if your conversion rates are growing or are they shrinking, and what the reasoning is, and what's going on with your return on ad spend, or what's going on with some, you improve just a few of these over time, and it can have a profound impact on your top line. All right, next page. And go ahead to the next one. Okay. So let's go through the sales and marketing tactics one more time. And here's some specific things, tools and things that you need to think about. Of course, you need to advertise because people can't find you if they don't know about you. There's all sorts of personal network you can do, and that's very important. But I'm going to suggest some tools here, which are mostly online. So you can, of course, place ads on Facebook. If you haven't tried this before, it can be very, very powerful. The abilities in the Facebook system for you to define your demographic is very strong. Also in LinkedIn, because you can describe people that you're connected to or not connected to, if you have the professional abilities. And you can find people who are match your perfect demographic. They're functional managers, presidents, vice presidents, directors in technical positions, right? You can get right to the people that you might think or you have a good chance at. Of course, in Google, same sort of thing. There's a certain find those who match your demographic, and all of these ad placement systems help you. They have tools that allow you to help track your return on ad spend. And so you need to spend some time and study how to do that. But this will be very helpful. And when you put out the web pages, when you put out the ads, that they come back to your web pages, and you can track where they're coming from and which source got them to get to you, so you can see which ones are working and which ones aren't. Okay. I talked a little bit about SEO, right? Tied to content, including YouTube. So if you feel like it, you want to do training and you want to do some other things that are linked to your consulting practice. Sometimes that YouTube content can be very helpful in growing your SEO and your search positioning in Google.